Question number 2 that showed up was, most of you have not had formal training in facilitation. I don't know that how many of you actually identify like I'm a facilitator? I have facilitated some things, a couple of you, right? How many of you identify as a coordinator? Right, okay, many of you, all right? So I'm gonna invite you. You don't have to ever say the word facilitation ever again in your entire life if you don't want to, but I'm going to invite you to consider adding the identity of facilitator to your list of who you are in the world. And here's why. About 8 years ago, I was typing on Microsoft Word. It was 10 years ago, typing on Microsoft Word. And I don't know if this still happens because I don't use Microsoft Word anymore, but as I was typing, you can right-click on a word, and then it gives you a drop-down menu of synonyms. You know what I'm talking about? Like things. So I wrote the word facilitation. I right-clicked, and one of the synonyms was to smooth the process of. How many of you are interested in smoothing the process of your students doing well? Yeah? You're like into that? Right? So if you want to call it, I'm a smoother of processes, you can do that, but it's a little bit more clunky than I'm a facilitator. Right? I help smooth the process. One part of that, so to answer this question, we're going to reverse it this time. I'm going to give you 5 clever strategies and ideas, and then turn it over to you to add to the list with a couple. And what I'm doing in answering this question is I used to teach a team building and leadership development facilitation course at Penn State University. So it was a 15-week-long course, and I'm going to give you that course in like 6 minutes. So here's what you actually need to know. Some clever strategies that you can steal to be a better facilitator if you've chosen to make that a part of who you are in the world. All right. So the first one is going to require your right index finger. So hold that out. And back away from your table a little bit. You're going to need a little bit of space. And what I want you to do is just point at the ceiling and start rotating your finger clockwise. I know, analog clocks. Oh my goodness. Start rotating your finger clockwise and start lowering. Look at me. So keep doing that. Look at me and start lowering your finger like me. So lowering your finger, lowering your finger, lowering your finger. Look down at your finger. What direction is it spinning? Oh. Yeah, go do it again. Half of you are like, wait a second. Stop your mind tricks, Chad. So about half of you at this point got it. And you're like, okay, I figured it out. And half of you still think I tricked you. So what actually changed? That's it. Only your perspective changed. I did not trick you, and I didn't like say some weird mentalist word and then start your hands spinning the other direction. I just invited you to go down, and what happened was you had a new perspective on the exact same idea. And I think a really great facilitator gets people into conversations and experiences that simply give them a new perspective on the exact same situation. So how many of you are like get pretty burnt out or overwhelmed at some of the situations you deal with? Yeah, I'm burned out by it. Just by hearing stories of pontoon boats and floods and carrying people in sheets. Like the stuff that some of you have seen and done over the last year and decade is incredible. And so what the heck am I going to do coming in here for a few minutes? It's like the only thing that you might be able to do sometimes is offer a new perspective of the same situation. Because you've also seen people in very similar worlds, one's thriving and one is really not, right? And so one of the main things that's different for them is their perspective. And so we can't make anybody change. We can't make anybody do anything. But now that I've done this thing, I've poisoned your mind and you can never see the world the exact same again because you've had this experience. I've invited you into this moment, all right? Idea number 2, shared in an experience, is go ahead and cross your arms this time. The comfortable resting position in a CEU credits class. So look down, and whatever arm is on top, switch arms. So the other arm is on top. How does that feel? Ooh, yeah, like not super good. There's something. Here's the thing, if I asked you, and don't do this, it's a complete waste of time, but if I asked you to cross your arms the weird way over and over and over and over again, in about a month, you'd be like, hey, Chad, check this out. Feels great, both ways. What's up with that, right? So the idea here, how to be a great facilitator, is I would say it is actually a requirement to make people uncomfortable, which is tough because you're working with an underserved, often vulnerable population. Some of you are still doing this. I love it. Right? Some of you are working. Most of you are working with a very underserved and vulnerable population, and so making somebody who's already uncomfortable, already vulnerable, putting them in a place of discomfort has some nuances. So you got to be the expert of how you do that, because sometimes all they need is like a safe haven for 10 minutes and a hug. That's what maybe they need in this context. But if you're going to smooth the process of growth and development and human flourishing, you've got to push people into different norms that they're not familiar with. And this was an example of this was not really high risk, right? So there's plenty of ways to stretch people's comfort zone without risking everything. Strategy number 3 is a review from the keynote a little bit ago. How many answers are there to this question for you? A lot, right? There's many, you could answer this with many answers. Little trick of asking great questions. We often tend to ask superlatives, like what's your favorite, what's your best, what's your worst, just add one of, and it expands the question and opens it way up. So what is one of your favorite topics of conversation? And so idea number 3, if you want to be a really great facilitator, is to remind people when you ask questions of them and you prompt people to do anything that they have 100% choice and autonomy in how they answer that question in that moment. Right? The weird thing that I've noticed is when you do that, when you remind people of that, 90% of the time they choose the more authentic or vulnerable or whatever route. So the majority of the time when you give them the choice to totally skate by, and often front load with an example, so what's one of your favorite topics of conversation? I could answer that by saying, I was gonna say I like sports, but I struggle to, I got the coordination of a fish. So what's one of your favorite topics of conversation? My kid. I like talking about Otto and Ellie, right? By showing people that they don't actually have to exert any effort and then giving the alternative, I don't know why actually, but for some weird reason, people usually choose the latter. And so by giving choice to people, you actually are partially assuming the social risk for them to have conversations that really matter. Okay, I've shared 3. Now I want to hear your 3 before I share my last 2. So go ahead and just ponder your own response to this. How can you be a really great facilitator in your own context, right? Because your context is different than mine oftentimes. Like professional facilitator, traveling around facilitating. That's not necessarily your role. So how do you be a good person who smooths the process of? We're gonna toss that catch box 3 times, and then I'll share my last 2. All right, so this time, just reflect. You don't have to talk to somebody next to you. Just reflect your own answer to that question. So we're gonna do, if this space was more open, we'd do a much more fun version of this. We're gonna do an adapted version of one of my favorite exercises, which students, if you ever get a chance to lead a group of students, like school assembly, they're all in a gym together, you got girls on the run, this exercise is really, really lovely to just give people a shared experience, bring them all together, have a laugh. I call it freeze action. It's gonna require you, we're gonna do a modified, less movement-y version, but go ahead and stand up if you would. And what I'm gonna ask you to do is kind of like, just in a minute, when I say move, just start moving. You can fidget a bunch, you can kind of just pace back and forth right where you are, just move around a little bit. Now at some point, here's the exercise. So I haven't said it yet, so you can just hang out. At some point, one of you is going to stop. You're going to freeze in some position. And the goal of the group is as soon as you see somebody frozen, you're going to freeze and mimic exactly what they're doing. So when I say move in a minute, you're going to start moving around. At some point, after about 10 to 15 seconds, one of you, I don't know who it is, one of you is just going to choose to freeze in a particular place. And the goal of the group is to all be frozen in the exact same place as quickly as possible. Ready? 3, 2, 1. If you have a question, it'll sort itself out quickly enough. 3, 2, 1, move. Did your question get answered? No. What's your question? Ah, yes. Okay. All right. So that's just round one. I actually think there might be enough space. You all enjoy. I'm hearing enough laughs, but we're just going to go for it. Push your chairs in a little bit. Nobody's going to get hurt. If you have a really horrible knee or back, just adapt for what we're going to do. All right. So this time, in a moment, when I say the word walk, you're going to just start walking. You can leave your space, pace in the aisle, come up here. Please, this is lots of open space up here. Come up here. Just walk around. And at some point, somebody is just going to freeze. And as soon as you see anybody else frozen, your goal is to freeze as quickly as possible. The goal is for the group to have the shortest time from the time the first person freezes to the time the last person freezes. 3, 2, 1, walk. This time, whether you know it or not, people, when you walk, you tend to take soft corners. So you're taking a turn, you take a soft corner. You have, for the next 60 seconds, you've lost the ability to take soft corners. So when you walk, you must take really sharp corners like this. 3, 2, 1, walk. I just watched somebody do a dinosaur roar, realized that everybody else was frozen. I saw you. Yeah, I see you. That's awesome. Okay, so now you can just actually stay where you are for a minute. My question to you now, I'm going to go through a sequence of questions, which I'll write out in a minute. But what just happened? We did 3 rounds. Just what just happened, real quick. Just popcorn out. I have no clue. An interaction, right? There was some interaction. Awareness of what was going on. It had to be observant. So out of your comfort zone. Thank you for being there for a minute. We're going to sit down soon enough, right? So I just asked you what just happened. Now gut. How did it make you feel? Weird. Awkward. Silly. Fun. There was as much as awkward and weird, there was a lot of laughter for the awkward and weird. Although I had a mentor once who said laughter is nervousness leaving the body. And so maybe that's perhaps a little bit what was happening. So what's the deeper level? What was it, to access the so what? What was required in order to make this work? Awareness, attention, willingness. This is a big one. I led this exercise with a group once, and they walked around for a full 2 minutes before anybody actually stopped. And I'll tell you what, this is a very foolish exercise, so a full 2 minutes of walking around, we walked around for maybe 8 seconds. And you were like, this is the most I've ever done in a session like this, right? Walked around for about 8 seconds, so 2 minutes. There was nobody who was willing to take a risk, and the risk was literally just freezing and doing nothing. But the trust was so low in that group that no was like, I'm not gonna be that person. All right, so there's that willingness. So all of a sudden we're doing a silly exercise, and now we're talking about attention and awareness and willingness, right? And leadership, followership, all of a sudden just from a silly little exercise. So then the question, now what? What do you do with something like this? Now what? Now what? What's that? Apply it. So perhaps, I'm assuming some percentage of you, I don't know how big, some percentage of you are like, I got a program like this could be when I see things are dead, this could be kind of fun. Or maybe I'll try a school assembly and I'll just get people to sway instead of walk around, right? You got some creative adaptation of it. And so go ahead and have a seat. I'm going to write those questions out. Here's the deal. If you want to be a smarter facilitator, your students, your staff, you yourself are constantly having experiences. Every minute, there's about 20,000 3-second moments every day. So you got 20,000 3-second experiences every single day. Very rarely do we pause to actually reflect on that experience. And so this is just the layer, in your toolbox, as you're reflecting with a student on something, with a staff on something, there are multiple layers of questions. So you can ask, literally, what happened? That's at a very like basic level. It's just rewinding the tape and recounting that if you feel like it might be useful. And then there's gut. It's like, okay, so that happened. How you doing with that? Right? How'd that make you feel? And then you come down here and you're like, okay, all right, this happened. This is how you feel. So what? Why does it matter? What are we going to make of this? What meaning are we going to make of this experience? And then perhaps most or just as importantly is now what? And then you don't go just back into the same experience, hopefully. Maybe you do, but with a new lens. Hopefully you take it out and create a new pathway because of that now what. And so this is a really, really simple, like if a student tells you something, you're like, whoa, I am not sure what to do with that right now. It's like, all right, what happened? How did it make you feel? So what? What meaning are we going to make of it? And what do you want to do about it? It's like this really easy model to help somebody move through. This comes from the land of experiential and adventure education. So you like facilitate an activity, and you can debrief it in these multiple ways. But I think it's really useful conversationally as well. Okay, I didn't forget about the catch box. I just decided that we needed to move around for a second first. So I want to jump back up to the question. Hearing all my answers, now how do you be a great facilitator? You got your own answer. Phil's got the catch box back there. Anybody want to pop out? And you could actually, in this one, yeah, Lisa first, and then also if you just have like reactions, things you want to share related to this. Cool.
I think paying attention to body language, like when people check out, try to have something like you just did to kind of pull people back in.
Yeah, you can just keep pushing through whatever you're doing, yes, thank you. Over here.
So the thing I was going to say is very similar to her with the nonverbal cues is also just listening to what they're saying. There's just so many times that a teacher calls me to come down, hey, I'm having a rough time with a student. And I pull the student out and it's just, all right, you tell me your side. Express to me why you're mad. I know you're mad. I'm not going to try to solve it right this moment. Just give me the whole story. And sometimes we just got to really take that time and be intentional. And maybe it's a little longer than what we wanted it to be. But that 5 extra minutes or 10 extra minutes gets you somewhere a whole lot further than just trying to be like, all right, here's the consequence. This is what we're going to do. And that's sometimes what the teacher wants. But I'm like, no, that's not really what's going to solve the problem. So anytime like I have to facilitate between a student and a teacher or even a student and a student, I got to remind myself that whole practice of listening and what she said, paying attention to those nonverbal cues of the body language.
Are you married?
Maybe. Yes, I am.
Maybe. I was like, how many people would like to be married to somebody who's not trying to solve their problems as soon as they share them, right? It's like really powerful tool. My wife reminds me of this regularly of like, oh, I know exactly what to do now. And she's like, no, Chad, the solution is you shutting your mouth and hearing what I actually have to say. Yeah.
No, the one thing I'm going to add to that, you asked if I was married. Yes, I am. But the biggest thing that has taught me to pay attention to the nonverbals and to really listen to students is my own daughter, because she's nonverbal. She can't communicate like everybody else does. So it's caused me over the past 2 years to really listen to the body language and the eye contact and the needs and the wants that are more than just the words.
Thank you so much. And the most patient. Yeah, also the parents, the most patient people who have parents who are deaf and learn how to use body language. So much there that I want to unpack. Just appreciate that moment. Thank you so much for kicking that out. Last one. Oh, ready? Oh, I know. It's okay. You're good. Yeah. You got it. Throw. Yeah. Oh.
I appreciate that. Thank you. My name's Danielle. I think kind of piggybacking off that is just being present, because I think a lot of times we have our own agenda for the meeting or how the meeting should go. And I know for me personally, like my brain is nonstop of different narratives and whatever. So being able to really be present, we've talked a lot about listening, you know, being focused on what people are saying and what they need out of that meeting, as opposed to just sticking with my own agenda of how I think it should go.
Yeah. We are not qualified to give feedback to ourselves most of the time. Right? It's like, how many of you are your own harshest critics? Yeah, we are not qualified most of the time to give feedback to ourselves. So sometimes remembering that is really useful.